Cut your coat according to your size. A lot of people say that. You've probably heard it a million times. On today's episode, we're going to be exploring the idea that that statement is actually false for a lot of people. Hello, I am PK Aliu and I welcome you to another episode of Run With Life. And today we'll be talking about the idea that a lot of people float around. They say cut your coat according to your size, and why that idea might be wrong in a lot of ways that you haven't thought of. Now, basically, what do people mean when they say cut your coat according to your size? They don't mean harm, I guess. They probably are trying to tell you not to take risks that put you in problems. They are trying to tell you to not bite more than you can chew. They are trying to tell you to understand your current financial situation a lot of times and know what you can handle so that you don't take too much of a load and find yourself in debt. Which is all true, it's all fair. So basically, cutting your coat according to your size is the ideal thing to do. It's the comfort zone. It's you knowing that you earn 500 naira a year and you are not going to go and get a house that costs you 400 naira a year when 100 naira kind of feed you throughout the year. So why on earth would that idea ever be wrong? Let's think of it this way. What are the benefits of wearing a bigger coat? What are the benefits of not cutting your coat according to your size? And disclaimer, this is definitely ideal to your situation. So you, of course, know yourself more than anyone would know you. So you shouldn't be listening to a stranger on the internet telling you to not cut your coat according to your size if the things I say don't necessarily apply to you. But let's look at it this way. Personally, I feel like I shouldn't be scared of risks. I'm still young. I shouldn't necessarily be thinking of cutting my coat according to my size in a lot of situations where wearing a bigger coat could benefit me a lot more. I haven't accumulated a lot of things I want in life, and I haven't taken myself from the place I am in right now to the place I want to be. And the only way of doing that a lot of times is getting out of your comfort zone, doing things that are out of the norm. Let me give you an example, a real life scenario. So a lot of times it feels like we are in this circle of life where you are trying to either earn more, become a better person, become bigger in life, and it just feels like you are trapped in the system. It feels like you are just trapped, like no one makes it out of the hood kind of vibes. That is because you have been told to cut your coat according to your size. So you never think of thinking outside the box. You never think of leaving your environment. But what I came to understand as I ran through life was the fact that a lot of times where I decided to not cut my coat according to my size and actually wear a bigger coat, when done intentionally and properly, I ended up growing to fill up the bigger coat anyways. So sometimes not cutting your coat to your size could actually be beneficial if done correctly. And on this episode, we're going to be talking about how to avoid cutting your coat to your size, but instead of cutting your coat according to your size, forming the habit of thinking, where can I get more material? You're trying to make a bigger coat and not make a coat that is ideal to the amount of material you currently have. You're thinking of future growth. But how can you do that in the proper way so that you don't get wrecked, you don't enter debt, you don't do it in the wrong way and start entering the trap of living a lavish lifestyle? Let's get down to it. And as usual, I have 3 points on this episode that when you implement, give you 3 nice and easy steps that you could use as guidelines while deciding to not cut your coat according to your size, but opting for a bigger coat. Let's get down to it. Now, the first guideline to not cutting your coat according to your size is know when the time is right. And first of all, you have to understand that not cutting your coat according to your size doesn't mean that you are living a lavish lifestyle. It doesn't mean that you're not calculating your income. It doesn't mean that you're not being cautious of how much you could afford and living by what you can afford. It doesn't mean that. It means you're calculating well enough to know when you can afford to wear a bigger coat. Now, knowing when is the right time comes down to a few things. It boils down to looking at your life as it is right now and thinking what you actually stand to lose. A lot of people have built a lot. I'm happy for them. They have made millions. They have gone far in life. They have taken themselves closer to where they want to be. And what comes with a lot of that success is having more to lose. At this point in my life, depending on the situation, I oftentimes feel like I have very little to lose or not enough to lose because I haven't even started building a lot of the things that would take me to where I want to be. So it's like, I don't have a family yet. I'm not married yet. Obviously, I'm the firstborn, so responsibilities come with that, but I'm privileged to still have my parents alive. If I don't take risks now, when would I ever have the chance of taking risks? If I don't try to explore better options for my life, take myself outside my typical environment that makes me more productive, when would I ever do that? And the answer is never, because you may never get the opportunity you have right now. Sometimes right now is the perfect time. But if this is not ideal to your situation, if you already have a lot of burdens on your head, if you've already grown to a particular level where there's a lot more risk if you don't cut your coat according to your size, you stand to lose it all, then maybe it makes sense to not listen to this and actually cut your coat according to your size. But it's all about knowing yourself and knowing what exactly do you stand to lose. There's never a perfect time, but are you at a time where you can afford to actually take those risks if they actually mean something? So it doesn't mean just spending lavishly and trying to get the most expensive things, because with every risk comes a reward. No, it's calculating the things that are actually worth it. But that's step 2, so we get to that. For step 1, you just need to know, is the time right? Can I afford to do this? Am I the kind of person right now that can take those risks, that even if I fail, even if I fall, I haven't lost much, I can build again? And if that's you, then I want you to listen to this. Point 2, you need to know the benefits of wearing a bigger coat. There's this ideology or like an experiment I had. Someone commuted to work, and when he got to work, they asked him, how many red cars did you see today? And he couldn't literally remember how many red cars he saw. He was like, I'm not sure, maybe 5, maybe 10. Then the next day, they told him that he was going to be asked how many red cars he saw when he came to work. Because he had that in mind, that, oh, I'm going to see red cars on my way to work, I'm going to be asked how many red cars I saw on my way to work, he became more cautious to the color red and noticed a lot more red cars than he would have seen on his normal commute to work. Because no one is going for their 9 to 5 thinking, how many red cars am I seeing on the road? You're thinking of work, you're thinking of, when I get there, am I getting late? Traffic. The fact that he noticed more red cars on his way to work the second time proves the point that consciously thinking about something puts it in your mind and makes you experience it more. It doesn't mean it wasn't there for you to experience all along. It just means you ignored it all this while because you were ignorant to the facts. Let me not stray away too much. What does this all mean in the sense of not cutting our coats according to our size and wearing a bigger coat? You need to know the benefits of wearing a bigger coat, because if you don't know the benefit of wearing a bigger coat, you will not reap the benefits of wearing a bigger coat, whether you like it or not. Let me use myself as an example, because I notice this in my life a lot. Anything I do and I don't know the benefit of what I'm doing, a lot of times I don't reap the benefits. To be fair, it's fair to say I didn't deserve the benefits in the first place, because if I didn't do it cautiously for those benefits and they don't come to me, I don't even know that I'm losing anything. So now I try to be cautious with everything that I do. If I'm leaving my house for a party or an event, I'm asking myself, what are my goals for this event? What am I trying to get out of this event? Am I trying to network? Am I trying to meet someone new? Am I trying to socialize in a casual setting? Am I trying to get new friends? If you don't think of the goal and the endpoint, you may not get that goal or that endpoint. If you don't know that by leaving your house, you could meet a business partner that could change your life, you may end up meeting that person. But because you're not looking for that, you will not be able to position yourself where you can reap those benefits. I think you get the point I'm trying to paint. So what are the benefits of wearing a bigger coat? It depends on your situation. For example, let me use real estate, because I just moved to Lagos. The real estate scene in Lagos is crazy. It's very mad. A lot of times you're thinking, should I take this particular house that has a certain social structure, or should I take this or that particular house? You should think of it this way. Based on the work you do, how does each environment impact me? So it's like, where is your target audience? You have to think of it. The kind of person I am trying to be, the type of people I'm trying to meet. Does this environment take me closer or farther to those kind of people? Am I cutting my coat according to my size so much that I am putting myself in an environment that I shouldn't be in? You think of it that way. So let's say you know the benefits and you know that it's the right time. You can actually afford to wear a bigger coat based on your current situation. What is the next step? The next step is, do not forget the work. Do not forget that it's not about dreaming and wishing and hoping. It's not also about just knowing the benefits. It's also not about just knowing the time is right for you. It's not about just that. It's also about remembering that you actually have to do the work. It's not just going to come magically. There's no point on you getting a bigger coat if you don't work out to fill your bigger coat. The point on getting a bigger coat is not so that you rock baggage it for the rest of your life. Theoretically speaking, rocking baggy for the rest of your life means you got a bigger coat, it's costing you a lot. You are living hand to mouth. You are literally trying to fit in for the rest of your life. Nah, the point of getting the bigger coat is so that you create an environment that makes you desperate enough for growth. You create an environment that makes you desperate enough to work out and feel those clothes to the extent where it's no longer a bigger coat. It's now a norm. And then you move to the next big coat. And that's where this third step comes in. You need to not forget the work. What work do you have to do after you've got that 5 million naira phone and spent everything you have in your bank account? What work do you have to do after you have moved to that environment that is costing you 60% of what you earn in a year? What work do you have to do? You have to start earning more. Exactly. What work do you have to do when you're thinking of getting a laptop that costs you everything you own right now, but you still don't have enough money for it? What work do you have to do? You need to lock in. Exactly. And I've learned that the hard way. Why this works a lot is I came to realize that without reason, it's very hard to find motivation to do anything. Human beings, we are reason driven and you can't lie to your brain. So if you put yourself in a comfortable environment where you can always afford everything you want, you tend to get lazier with time. You tend to see it. You put yourself in an environment where you are a king in your environment. You are literally bigger than everyone in your whole street. You make more money than the whole state. If you keep staying in an environment like that, you tend to shrink. You tend to get smaller because you don't need to earn more. You can afford anything you want. You can't deceive your brain to work harder. Wow, why does your brain need to work harder? Your brain will only work as hard as it needs to work to give you the basic things you need. So putting yourself in an environment where you're now wearing a bigger coat and you know that if you slack, you can't afford the house you stay in. It puts you in a very dangerous position, but it also puts you in a very productive state if done correctly. And this doesn't mean because you need ginger, because you need drive, you should pack to the most expensive part of the country, get the most expensive car, and spend all the money you have so that you could start again and know that, yeah, I need to buy fuel, I need to pay my house rent. Nah, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying if those things benefit you a lot, if staying in an environment that can 2x, 3x your business, so you know the benefits, you've weighed it, and you've seen that it's the right time. Doing that makes you a total beast. You don't always need to cut your coat according to your size. Wearing a bigger coat sometimes is the right decision, but you need to remember the final step. Do the work. And that's why I always try to remind myself every time. Do the work. There's no point spending all you own, risking this much just to wear a bigger coat so you could just feel pompous. And then when the year turns round, you can't even afford to retain the bigger coat anymore. And you have to go back to your smaller coats. There's no grace in that. To be fair, there's no harm in failing. But you have to actually do the work. You can only fail with grace when you do the work. If you don't do the work and you fail, then that's worse than failure. You didn't even try. Give yourself a fighting chance. So that's like literally what I try to tell myself a lot of times. So let's just give you a rough summary of how to wear a big coat gracefully. Step 1, you need to know if the time is right for you to wear a bigger coat, if you can afford to do it at that particular time. Step 2, you need to know the benefits of wearing a bigger coat. And step 3, you need to not forget to do the work. Always remember to do the work. And these steps are things I've been exploring this week and exploring like literally throughout my life, trying to master the art of wearing a bigger coat. Because the current situation of my life right now is not necessarily the end point of where I want to be. So a lot of times when you are in that kind of situation, you need to take a lot of risks that take you to your final endpoint. Calculated risks, of course. And mastering the art of wearing a bigger coat is mastering the art of taking calculated risks. Now this week, I challenge you to find a way to wear a bigger coat if the time is right for you. Find a way to wear a bigger coat somewhere in your life. Find a way to level up your game. Pay for that house that costs you a little bit more if it benefits you a lot more. Do the work and see if you become richer before your rent expires. Buy that gadget that levels up your content a lot more than it's costing you. Do the work and see if after 1 year or 2 years, that money becomes so insignificant that you can't even fathom the idea of the fact that you were debating getting it or not. But as I said, don't forget to do the work and let's keep ourselves accountable. If you love what you heard on this podcast, or you feel like in any way I have provoked some certain line of thoughts in your head that would make you productive this week, this month, this year, do well to hit the like button or drop me a follow on any platform you are listening to. And I'll see you on our next run with life.